Just ahead on American Black Journal, it is my favorite show of the year. The world-class Detroit Jazz Festival is just around the corner. We're going to talk about this year's lineup, what's new, and the festival's impact on the city of Detroit. Plus, remembering the Queen of Soul. Stay right there. American Black Journal starts now.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. A popular Detroit tradition will take over downtown Detroit over the Labor Day weekend. The 39th annual Detroit Jazz Festival, presented by Quicken Loans, is expected to attract 325,000 music enthusiasts, more than 25% of whom will come from out of state. It's the world's largest free jazz festival, featuring internationally known jazz legends and rising musical stars. Here to tell us more is Chris Collins. He's the president and artistic director of the Detroit Jazz Festival Foundation, along with Jasmin Deforrest from Quicken Loans and jazz bassist Marion Hayden, who will be performing at the festival. It is really great to have all of you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm totally serious when I say this is my favorite show, because this is one of my favorite events in the city, not just because I'm a huge jazz fan, but because of the way this event brings this city together, brings people from all over the globe to this city, and we do it right in the heart of the city in downtown.
Yeah, one of the few in the world that is really right in the middle of a great city like Detroit. And you know, jazz as an art form is such a welcoming art form. It embraces all cultures and generations and points of view, and that's reflected in the Detroit Jazz Festival. Not only on stage, as you know, but on off stage with our patrons and the relationship between the artists. Any artist will tell you that the Detroit Jazz audiences are some of the best in the world, and it really lends itself to a family atmosphere, an artistic atmosphere, an atmosphere for discovery. It's really special for the whole city, for the artists who visit us, and for those around the world who may join us on the live stream or through some other venue.
Yeah, let's talk about the headliners this year. That's one of my favorite parts of the festival.
Well, you know, of course, at the Jazz Festival, everybody's a headliner.
Yes, of course.
These great artists, I got to tell you, you always discover something you don't expect. But we have our incredible legend, our artist in residence, Chick Corea, performing 3 different sets throughout the festival's acoustic band, electric band, and premiering a piece in the region here with our full Detroit Jazz Festival Symphony Orchestra, 62 pieces. It's going to be an amazing closing to the festival. And then we have, for the first year, the Resident Ensemble. It's where an ensemble comes together and is a heartbeat of several performances. They've worked in the Detroit area with our youth over the year to get to know everybody. And it's this year it's a tribute to Jerry Allen by the great Esperanza Spalding and Terry Lynn Carrington. They're also performing several performances, including an orchestral performance and some performance that brings in technology and streaming and really very different perspectives on Jerry's work. It's going to be spectacular. And then you get into, you know, Robbie Coltrane's with us, Marcus Miller's with us. We've got the great Nicholas Payton with us, Cecile McLaurin, Sylvant. It's a pretty heavy list of players.
Jasmin, this unfolds in your backyard there for Quicken Loans. It's been, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the 3rd year?
3rd year.
See, I got that right. I've been paying attention. Talk about the relationship between Quicken and downtown and the Jazz Festival.
Well, Quicken Loans and the family of companies couldn't be more proud to be the presenting sponsor of the Detroit Jazz Festival. To all of the points that you just made earlier, I mean, it is such a great representation of how music brings the world together, diverse ethnicities and cultures together, all ages together. And just so for us to be able to see that population, 325,000 people, 25%, if not maybe even a little bit more, coming in from across the country, if not even across the world. So it really shines a positive light on our city. So of course, we're into real estate development. We have invested hundreds of millions into the city of Detroit, but we also care about art and culture. And jazz is a part of that, and it's a part of the fabric of our existence, in my opinion. And Chris Collins and Gretchen and the entire Jazz Festival team just does such a wonderful job bringing these artists together into our city, the programming, the production, the stages, all those sorts of things. So we're super excited to be a part of it again.
Yeah, yeah. Marion, I have to confess I am really, really excited that you are here because I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and that there's a little bit of a personal bias there. I was a tuba player when I was a teenager, right? So I know about the instruments at the bottom of the clef, right?
Yes.
And every time I see you, I'm like, gosh, I want to be like her. Right? And I've always said, if I take up music again, it will be the bass. So I'm very glad that you're here. But you are performing this year at.
I am, and I have several wonderful performances, but the one I'm most excited about is the performance with my wonderful band, Straight Ahead.
Yeah.
A band that we've been nurturing for really a little over 25 years now. And so we're doing a reunion with our first primary instrumentalist, Regina Carter, who's just so extraordinary. And she's made such a wonderful mark on the world of jazz.
Yes.
And so she's going to come back, and we've got some great things. In fact, we were just rehearsing with her this week. She came in. We had 2 wonderful days of rehearsing and other things.
Right. Other things that we may not want to talk about on air.
Lots of fun,
right?
lots of eating, lots of talking, reminiscing, and some great music. So we have a great performance planned for everybody.
Yeah, and we're going to hear a little bit of a recording of Straight Ahead later in the program, and then I'm going to want to talk a little bit about women in jazz in particular, and the role that they have played historically and play now. But Chris, I know you brought with you the poster for this year's Jazz Festival, and this is the first time anyone's seeing it?
This is the first time premiere on your show. We've been holding it for
You've been waiting, yes. So tell us about this year's poster, which I actually really like. I love the hands reaching for the saxophone.
Well, you know, it came from a basic idea of how jazz brings us all together. Yeah. And just what we've been talking about. And then we got a wonderful photographer from Detroit, Jacob Leakow, involved, who shot the shots. We got several models from throughout the community. And if you look real close, you might recognize a Jasmin Deforrest arm in there.
Oh, is that right?
So we give you the 2000.
Is that your saxophone, Chris?
That is my saxophone,
It is your saxophone.
From a handmade company, and it's made of all kinds of different metals, and it also reflects that unity that can come together and create great beauty.
Yeah. Talk about how the festival has changed. This is the 39th annual. I remember when I was a kid, it was the Montreux Detroit Jazz Festival. That's how old I am now.
You and me both.
Right, but talk about how it's changed and how important it has been for you to keep it free. I mean, that distinguishes it from a lot of other festivals.
Yeah, I played the first one I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, if it was even $1 at the gate, I might not have been able to go.
Yeah.
And I carry that thought with me, that the freeness of it is one of the first barriers we break down to truly make it a full opportunity to everyone. As you know, we've tapped into technology. We have Detroit Jazz Fest Live, which is live.detroitjazzfest.org. People can sign up for an app. They get all the festival information, but they can choose from any of the 4 stages.
The stages, right.
All 4 days. See Chick, see Marcus, see everybody from any of your mobile devices. You can send it out and export a little Detroit goodness around the country. We've also done these particular series like the Artist in Residence, Resident Ensemble, our Homecoming series where we celebrate things like the 25th anniversary of Straight Ahead and others, and also really making sure we're breaking down barriers to all communities. So we have our own Latino Jazz Project. We have a number of amazing world performers from Cuba and from North Africa and from New Orleans around the country, young and old. And you put all that together and you can find yourself not only enjoying things you recognize like Pat Martino, Chick Corea, but hearing new things like one of the Untitled artists, Cream Riggins, working with 5 of our youth from Detroit, alums of the youth program who are now in college, and they're blending his background in hip hop and techno with straight ahead jazz, all Detroit style, take place on Sunday. It's going to be something to witness.
Yeah, no, it always is. As I said, it's one of my favorite favorite weekends in downtown Detroit. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from Straight Ahead and talk about women in jazz. I also want to talk, Jasmin, about some of the other things that you guys are doing with jazz and the Jazz Festival here in Detroit. We're going to talk more about all of that next and get a musical preview from one of the groups in just a minute. But first, we want to continue our look back at this program over the last 50 years. Here's a 1994 Detroit Black Journal interview with jazz legend Nancy Wilson.
As a young teenager appearing on television in Columbus, I believe it was.
Yes, Columbus, Ohio.
Born and reared in that area. It must have been quite an experience for you to get into the limelight, understand that people were reacting to you, enjoying what you were doing, obviously. Obviously, you enjoyed what you were doing, and so you could instantly make the decision that early in your life that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
No, I said, I don't think I want to be in show business at 15. I mean, I said no. I knew, I mean, I've always been able to separate singing from show business. So it wasn't a question of whether you're going to sing or not.
What's the difference?
Sing. Big difference. I can sing anywhere. I can sing in my house, I can sing at church, I can sing anywhere, but I don't have to be involved in the recording industry. I don't have to play nightclubs. I might not want to necessarily be on television anymore. So the show business was entirely different. The singing will never go away. I mean, that's a part of me, but show business is not.
There's so much I want to ask you that's wrapped up in there, but I have to say, based on what I'm hearing you say, is it more the case that a showbiz career pursued Nancy Wilson as opposed to vice versa?
Exactly.
When did you first know that you had the potential to go into show business and actually shun that? Was it as that young teenager?
Yes, yes.
So when did you get the bug?
I don't.
Or did you ever get the bug?
I never got the bug. I don't think I ever got the bug. I was very honest about show business. As a young woman, at 15, 16, 17, having had a television show, having worked with Rusty Bryan's band, having traveled here in Detroit, I really still never signed a contract with anyone for a record contract. I was not ready to do that. I wasn't ready to make that commitment because I knew then that would really be of some consequence. Was I mature enough to handle that? Did I want it? The important thing was if I did it, it had to be where I could have a life. I also realized as a young woman that there weren't many women in the show business who did have what I thought was a life that I would want to emulate. I saw a lot of death, a lot of marriages, a lot of divorce, a lot of... I didn't see anybody really happy. I saw Lena Horne, I saw the picture, that great looking package, but then I saw Dorothy Dandridge having a difficult time of it.
One of the highlights of this year's Detroit Jazz Festival is the 25th anniversary reunion of the group Straight Ahead, featuring Regina Carter, Marion Hayden, Galen McKinney, and Alina Moore. The Detroit-based all-female jazz group is known for its creative musical style. Here's a preview performance recorded at the Dirty Dog Jazz Cafe in Grosse Pointe. And I'm here with the bassist in Straight Ahead, Marion Hayden, along with Chris Collins from the Detroit Jazz Festival Foundation and Jasmin Deforrest of Quicken Loans. Marion, that is quite a lineup on stage there, all of you. Talk about how this group came together and what you've tried to accomplish with it over the last 25 years.
Well, you know what? The group actually came together in a kind of an old school Me Too moment.
Yeah?
I'll say that. So our first vocalist with the group is a fabulous woman named Mickey Braden. Mickey Braden, and Mickey was working with some of our great Detroit jazz legends, and I think she ended up losing her gig because I think they needed to downsize the group, and she says, "That's okay. I'm going to get my own night someplace." And so Bert Deering, who was one of our jazz club owners for many years, gave us a Monday night. And if anybody knows about a Monday night is pretty much a toss-away night in any bar, any bars and restaurants. Many are closed. So they gave us a Monday night and said, you women have at it. Do what you can with this. And that was the start of the group. We started a Monday night session with Alina Moore, Galen McKinney, myself, and Mickey Braden. That turned into many years of great work together. Mickey ended up moving to New York to pursue a career in musical theater. We added Regina. And another great vocalist.
Picked up some
but you know what?
person,
Detroit has such a great cadre of women musicians. That someone like Regina was here. Someone like Jerry Allen is. Those are some of our residents. These are our resident artists here. So Regina came back from Germany. She was living in Germany for a while. We came back. We added her, and that was how the group was born. And it was really very much a kitchen table project. We worked together, we rehearsed together at Alina Moore's house a lot. We worked on repertoire. We had a couple really big breaks. One of our big breaks was also courtesy of one of the great female composers from Motown, Sylvia Moy. Sylvia Moy, who just passed last year. Sylvia Moy got us our big break so that we got our first record contract with Atlantic Records. That was through her wonderful contacts. And so it really has been just a series of great moments of women really supporting women, and Detroit being just one of the great ground zero places for fabulous female musicians, vocal and instrument musicians.
I wanted to talk a little bit about women in jazz, women in Detroit in jazz. Are things different now than they were when you guys started off 25 years ago with this group? I
think that that the landscape is a little different in terms of the instrumental musicians. I'd like to see more. And if I may, I'll just get on a very brief soapbox on public school education, instrumental education, and the Detroit Jazz Festival Foundation has been really important in helping to gird this particular thing, because this is where all the musicians come from. Many of them come from public schools and having an opportunity to get instruments when they are in elementary and middle school, and someone has to think that's important. The Detroit Jazz Fest has always felt that was really important. DPS, I think, thinks it's important, but a lot of times it was not reflected in the budget.
There's not a lot of money spent on music education anymore.
No, but that's where it comes from. All of us in that in our sphere, all were part of public education, educated as in public schools, and so I feel that is a void that we need to continue to try to fill in terms of being able to bring more young women into the fold as musicians. The vocal traditions tend to stay around anyway, because they tend to be supported a lot of times in religious institutions, and and schools will have choirs, but they don't always have bands and orchestras. So we need more of that. But the young folks that I have seen have been really wonderful. I have a young protege. Her name is India Owens, and she went to Michigan State. She's a wonderful young bassist, and I have had a couple a few that have come through. There's a wonderful young lady, Erin Whitsett, that came through the Wayne State University program. She actually was homeschooled, but she's from the community, so we have a few, need more.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are celebrating women and women artists at the Jazz Festival.
Yeah, and the way we look at it every year is, you know, there are so many great leaders in jazz that are women. And it's again about breaking down a barrier and identifying where we need to reach out a little further, a little more, be a little more aggressive, start some education programs where we can put great mentors like Marion up front and encourage young women to understand what a great opportunity is for them and show off the talent and the leadership that is there.
Yeah.
It's just removing a barrier to an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Jasmin, talk about why jazz and why the Jazz Festival for Quicken. There are a lot of things that go on in downtown Detroit, and some of them you guys have kind of, I think, inspired with all that you're doing, but why this festival?
This is a true partnership. So I think most of the time when people think of sponsorships, it's just cutting a check.
Money, right?
It's just money, we're just cutting a check. But we really evaluated this opportunity to partner with the Jazz Festival, and before we became the presenting sponsor, we were a sponsor and we were involved, but we decided to dive a little bit deeper because the Jazz Fest is essentially the crown jewel of the events. I'm not sure if there are any other events outside of the parade and maybe the fireworks that are bringing this amount of people into the city and such a diverse crowd into the city. And jazz is one of those things. I really believe that jazz musicians are geniuses.
Yes.
And
I like that.
No, really. And just in terms of what it takes to play and multitask. Yeah. And so, as you mentioned, with arts and culture and music, a lot of those programs are being taken away and out of the schools and out of the school systems. And I'm a DPS graduate. I graduated from Mumford High School, graduated from Wayne State University. And so it's really important for us to be able to tap into and partner with organizations who are also not only bringing great events to the city, but the Jazz Festival Foundation also does year-round educational programs. And so they're tapping into high school students and college students. And last year, I believe it was, or the year before last, the alumni band, they were at Mackinac, and so they're traveling with these students who look like me, who look like you, who don't otherwise have these opportunities to play in front of crowds. And so it's such a great opportunity. And we have the QL Untitled series, and Kareem Riggins is going to be performing with the alumni band that Chris mentioned earlier today. And so we are really excited to see that. And then also too, the fact that Chris has just put together a jam-packed, power-packed lineup of
Every
some
year
amazing
he does this.
and of some amazing women.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see Esperanza, and of course Straight Ahead too. So it's great. It's great all around because the foundation is truly committed to Detroit and not only bringing music and jazz and also continuing that jazz legacy in Detroit that a lot of people don't realize. You know, you think of Chicago, you think of St. Louis, you think of New York, but we also have an amazing and strong jazz legacy in Detroit.
All right, so Labor Day weekend, I'll be there.
Great.
I'm sure everyone else will too.
And if they don't have a chance, they can check out the first ever
live
simulcast
on DPTV.
DPTV, 6 o'clock to 7:15. Robbie Coltrane's Universal Consciousness tribute to his mother Alice, who's a Detroiter. It'll be great.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, and I will look forward to the festival as I always do. Finally today, we say goodbye to a Detroit legend, Aretha Franklin. The Queen of Soul passed away at her Detroit home at the age of 76. Her iconic career spanned more than 60 years, and she was the first female artist inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. From Respect to Chain of Fools, everybody has a favorite Aretha song, and I should say that when I say I'm from Detroit, one of the things I'm saying is that I'm from where she's from.
The world was changing all around us. But the biggest thing that was happening in my neighborhood was the music. What you heard on the radio, what the songs were about, and the people who were singing them were putting a brand new face on what we listened to. These were some of the best times of my life.
Aretha was truly a rock star in Detroit and around the world. Our condolences go to her family, her friends, and her fans. By the way, much of the footage you just saw was from the PBS program My Music, Rhythm, Love, and Soul, which was partially recorded right here in our studio. As a public television station, we make copies of that program available at dptv.org. That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org. And as always, you can connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.